This week on World Traveler Cooking, we're going to make a German classic, Quarkballchen, literally little curd balls. Now, quark is basically a super strained yogurt. So, German quark in particular is very, very heavily strained. So, if you're in Sweden, for example, and you try to get quark, it's going to be more like a Greek-style yogurt than like a German quark. But if you get like a normal yogurt, you can probably strain it quite a bit. So you could take yogurt and, set it in a strainer over a cheesecloth and just let all the liquid drain out, and you could get quark that way. So at some point I'll probably do a video on how to do that. If you can't get quark and you don't feel like making it, you could try using like a strained yogurt, like a Greek-style or Turkish-style yogurt. Or you could try mixing a yogurt like that with something like a Neuchâtel cheese. So, at any rate, Quarkballchen are something you can find at many bakeries a lot of the time, and especially like around festivities, you'll find booths that sell these all over the place. So. That's that. Now, our ingredients are in fact really simple. We have 200 grams of flour, 100 grams of sugar, 2 eggs, about a tablespoon by US standards of baking soda, and 250 grams of quark, and then I'm going to add some vanilla. So that's what we have. Let's go ahead and get started. So I've added my eggs to the bowl. I'm going to whip them, beat them a bit. Then I'm going to slowly beat in the sugar. In goes vanilla to taste. If you're using vanilla sugar, I'd recommend trying out with one packet first. Whip that nice and well. Then we're going to cream in the quark. And this is going to take some effort, so I'll be back as soon as that's done. So, you can see here I've now creamed in the quark. It's a nice and smooth consistency. And now I'm going to stir in my dry ingredients. So, at this point we want to make sure we don't overmix. So, I'm basically going to add all the flour at once. And on top of that, I'm going to add the baking powder. Okay, and then we want to quickly stir this into a nice batter. Basically until we don't have any more obviously dry dough or dry flour. And once we don't have any more dry flour, you just kind of want to make sure that this forms an okay mass. And here is our dough. So next we're ready to fry these. This is going to be real simple and easy. So while I'm heating up my oil, I usually add just a few drops of dough to kind of monitor the temperature. And once those drops are cooking really well, I'll start adding my ballchen. You can see they're starting to go pretty well now. I'm going to let it go for another 30-40 seconds and then we'll add. Okay, so now the simplest thing to do is to start with a spoonful of dough here, like this, and to scoop it into the into the there with another spoon. And then we just let it fry in the oil. And we can do 3 or 4 of these at the same time. Some people like to use an ice cream scoop. That also works. You can get a little more regular shape. Some people even hand form them with wet hands. But we're going to go ahead and fry these 3 or 4 at a time. And you can see that they puff out and fluff out during the cooking as the water expands. So I'll be back when we have the first set done. So here's our first one out, and I'm going to plop it in the sugar and roll it around. I'll show that to you in a second once I get the next set in here. Basically we just coat them in sugar. But as always, when temperature control is important, get your stuff into the pan before you deal with stuff you just took out of the pan. So I will be back as soon as I'm ready to show you this. Alright, so now that the next set's in, basically we just take these and we're going to toss them around in the sugar a bit, and then we will set them on another plate to dry. Of course, also remember to toss them over periodically while they're cooking so that they cook evenly. Otherwise, they may be a lot more brown on one side than on the other. And here we have our Quarkballchen. A few of them are a little bit overdone. As always, when you're frying things at home, heat control can be a little difficult, but I think these will be all really good. So next up, the taste test. And now for the taste test. I'm going to take one of these that's actually probably a little overdone. These are amazingly rich. Think of like an old-fashioned donut in the US, but more rich than that. The quark just gives it this wonderful richness and mouthfeel. I think of the general donut-like dishes, this is one of my favorites so far. So, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you. Please also, if you make this dish a little differently, feel free to share any tips or tips or tricks that you have in the comments. I think it's great when we share techniques and stuff like that. That makes all of this more valuable to everyone. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.